The reason I get fly is I've been Jasper. I even keep your picture in my passport. Love, love. Wake up and...
Hey guys, welcome back to the Passport Snob channel. Shaquelle here, and today we're going to be focusing on episode 7 of the How to Plan a Trip 101 series. In this episode, we're going to be talking about deciding what type of trip you'll be taking. Is it going to be international or is it going to be domestic? But before we get too far into the details, if it's your first time visiting our channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below to get notifications of new content that we upload every week. If you're already a subscriber, we want to thank you for coming back each and every week as we continue to cover this series on How to Plan a Trip 101. Don't forget, we are on all social media platforms, so don't forget to join us on your social media platform of choice. You can click the link below. By now, you've decided your trip goals, you know when you're going to travel, and you know what your budget is going to be. Based on that information, you're more than likely steering towards either an international trip or a domestic trip. So today what we want to do is talk about some things you might not think about regarding taking an international or domestic trip. If you're a new traveler or a frequent traveler, I think it's important not to discount the wonders that can be right in your own backyard. Taking a trip domestically can be just as fun as taking a trip internationally. So let's talk about a few things that you may not think about when you travel internationally. If you're traveling abroad, you may need a different phone plan than what you have currently. Most phone companies offer some type of international plan to its customers. Sometimes these are pricey and sometimes these are not. It's all going to depend on your mobile carrier. However, when you're traveling domestically, this is definitely something that's giving no thought because your phone will work wherever you are in your domestic location. Choosing transportation options may not seem like something that would be a big deal, but if you plan on traveling internationally, you do have to remember that there may be a language barrier. I have definitely gotten lost in a train station before in another country. And if you can't find someone who speaks English, you may be lost for a long time. So that can definitely affect your scheduling or your itinerary of your trip if you get lost. If you're visiting somewhere that has a high concentration of tourists, this may not be much of a problem, but you do want to keep it in the back of your head and also make sure that you research and plan for situations that may arise if you're in a different country that speaks a different language than your original language. Another factor in deciding whether you want to take an international or domestic trip is the currency. No matter where you go, your currency is either going to increase or decrease based on that country. Therefore, you may need more money or less money to spend depending on where you're going. So definitely something that you have to think about when you're traveling internationally versus it's something that's not given much thought if you are traveling domestically. One of the last factors you'll need to consider is whether or not you're going to need a passport or even a visa to travel internationally. These are documents that you don't necessarily need if you are traveling domestically. If you need a passport or a visa, this is something that you're going to have to plan months in advance, being that you have to apply for and receive those documents most of the time through mail. Some countries may even require you to provide vaccination documentation or even may require certain vaccination shots that you don't already have. So these are things that you want to keep in mind if you decide to travel internationally versus domestically. One thing all of these things have in common is that they can definitely affect your budget. And by now we already know what our budget is and we want to stay within that. If you already have a passport or a visa, this is one thing you can check off your list, but may need to consider the other pointers that I mentioned in order to travel internationally and see how that affects your budget. With everything that I've told you, Research and planning are always going to be super important, especially when choosing an international trip over a domestic trip. Although you may still need to research for a domestic trip, the intensity of that research will not be as high as it would be for an international trip. I hope that I've provided you with some great pointers to consider on whether or not you'll be taking an international trip or a domestic trip. If you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, and share. And come back every Wednesday and Saturday for new content. Until next time, guys.